Yeah, we were. Oh,
She might be hiding, it might not be cool with mom, so.
Just don't bump this.
That would be considered cool. That would
The robotics are
That's why I don't think I can get on.
It's easy. Oh, wait.
All right, Danny. We are going to get started. We're only currently running 15 minutes. I just want to say before we even start that there was an annoying light there, and I don't know, did you like actually cut the wires or get a BB gun? Or, oh, they messed up. So we didn't do anything. Yeah, otherwise we would start interrogating you because that light was terrible. So Avery and Charlotte and Lee, who got here on the phone?
team effort.
Oh, okay. Anyway, they had a team of people that save your retinas. So thank you very much. That's why we invited you. You can take off. So, I am Dan Jacobs. I'm pretty sure I know almost everybody here. Thank you again so much for coming tonight, and I truly, truly am honored. I'll be heading to Mackinac Island for the induction into the Hall of Fame in a week. That was introduction number 2. We have a third one coming up at 7:10 or so. So this portion is the pre-introduction, pre-show part. I don't know if we will be getting other audience members at 7 or thereabouts. They're going to come in and not know what's going on, but you will. And what's going on is, well, we don't know what's going on yet, but what we're doing right now is just sort of a brief overview of the year in as much as I can remember it now that I'm trying. Okay, maybe not that, but at least some highlights that come to mind. And those highlights involve some, I don't know if they're awards, recognitions, hardware items, nouns that we tend to give out. And they're rooted in part in Roeper tradition and sometimes at our whim. And so that's what we're doing right now. So first of all, just like a team sort of overview, and you'll hear a little bit of this if we have an official restart, for the full show. But basically, as you all know, middle school in particular has not had any middle school in-person tournaments, and so this year and last year have been held together with the duct tape and bubblegum of like people scrambling to try to make whatever works work, as long as our students can continue to speak their minds and their hearts through forensics, and that's what we've been working on. While I don't want to steal my own thunder / fire, I'm not sure which I'm stealing, I would like a big round of applause for Laura Moore. Laura has been some of that bubblegum, duct tape, and other items, and has held things together through thick and thin. And like last year, Laura and Kat drove all around Michigan, handing out.
Handing out swag bags.
Yeah, it was Southeast Michigan. It was like Oakland County, Wayne County, and probably the UP. And yeah, getting our students who were online or wherever they were, their swag bags. And that has held the team together as much as the energy that you guys, parents, students, of course, and alum have been giving in words of encouragement to each other. Your energy in practicing and getting ready for whatever it is that you are doing. And those of you who have helped other people in the classes, like all of that, this is we don't have awards individually for all of that, but if we did, each of you would be getting one of those. And parents, I think we said this last year online, but we know you had like 6:30 a.m. wake up times with your 11-year-old screaming at you to get off the internet so they can do a tournament or clear out some space because the internet died in your living room. And we just appreciate you guys carrying us through all of this as well. So the parents, so yeah, this year we did have in-person high school states. So that was meant A, make middle schoolers feel jealous, but B, it was an emerging back into some semi-normalcy, and it was great. Wall Lake West was my first in-person. Laura and a number of other folks on the team went to Michigan State as their first, way back when it was like a typical forensics day. It was like a half an inch of glare ice from here to Lansing, and that's forensics. So they braved the ice. Of course, Ed was driving, so they made it there. And just coming back to in-person has, like I said back in the comments, has been reinvigorating. So you guys are all a part of that. Welcome back. So here we are, and as far as we have a tradition of giving, I don't want to say silly adjectives, silly things to people who have competed, particularly in high school this year. And so we have a couple of like paper plate awards and a few other awards to give out.
And we had a mighty team of 4 this year. Both online and in-person tournaments, and really made it a lot of fun. So congratulations for making it through this year, all 4 of you.
So
we traditionally have 2 awards because there was 4 of you we felt like we took it for.
Great.
So.
All right, you got it. Oh my goodness, I have not seen these in person. What? Oh my God. Okay, you'll never guess the artist. Okay. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm going to, so this award goes to, I think it speaks for itself. This goes to Philip Rabinovich, and it is the Make the Judges Scream Award. from in person is, this is Jafar back there. Jafar, wave your arms. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's hear for Jafar. I want to, what did I call it? J Doodles?
Yeah,
I think we're going to start a art company called J Doodle. Because he didn't like the other name that I had. But yeah, this is some Jafar art. This is classic art. You can get it as an NFT for $1 million.
Those are limited editions.
That's right.
We had a whole discussion about it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll let you go first.
All right.
So we have two other awards.
Oh man, I haven't even seen, like,
Oh, you haven't seen them.
I haven't seen any. All right, let me get my script up. I'm doing what we tell the students not to do and have it on an electric device instead of on paper. Okay, so this first award is the Most Improved Award. And Laura, Jafar, and I were having a chat after everybody was gone a few days ago. And I hadn't really thought about this, but we were talking about how it could be misunderstood as a, hey, you were really bad, but now you're kind of not as bad, kind of award. And that is absolutely not. Like, it was never that way in my head, but I can understand how someone might get that in their head. And so it's not a participation award. It's in fact, I feel from my heart that it's a really high honor. And so this year's recipient sort of expanded in my mind the idea of improvement. Like, unlike most other coaches at other schools, we have the privilege of watching growth from 6th grade and sometimes before 6th grade, but definitely 6th grade up through whatever age people are at this moment. And so, for this person, watching that growth has been, it's been a moment of like artistry, watching this person sort of weave together pieces of their own strength and then discovering how those can come together into like something that's more than the sum of its parts. And there's a magic like that I think once you've done forensics enough that energizes inside of a person and in between them and their audience that takes a lot of work to achieve. And some people are like, oh, they just picked up that piece and after 2 weeks of work, they got all these connections. But underneath that are years sometimes of working and not making those connections. And so you're going to guess who I'm at this, or you are, you know who I am. When I say this next part, but I'm going to just say, this Most Improved is for Senior Smith. So basically, I had like the super opportunity to watch Senior's final state round. And I saw someone who's like pulling together this community of poets. You were joking, you were having a great time with, you all sort of had this dynamic, and you went from being professional performers, and you did this in spades. Like, you were like, I am my poem, I am manipulating people's minds and emotions, and then you became this silly, awesome high schooler with your friends the moment you sat down, and it was wonderful. The energy was something that you don't get online, and that frankly I haven't seen at a high school state tournament in years, like pre-pandemic years, even though it's been 20 years of pandemic. And the other part of this, Senia, is like what really came to mind when I was thinking of this was you always had this confidence. This isn't you still had that confidence. But you weren't, like, it felt like something was preventing it from coming out in the performances. And when I watched you in that final round, it was like, what is that, 6.5, like 5, whatever years, I don't know, math years. Like you just synthesized all of it in a way that had all these levels, and like you were in the zone, and it was just like chilling to watch. And although I know I'm biased, I still think you got first in that round. So, Senior Smith,
This one was more laid out. So David Feldman picture came with the award.
Yeah, that's
so that actually all right. So and then there was one, right? So we have one high school left. I'm a speechwriter. She knows this, so she's going to have to explain there through my speech. This forensic area exhibits what it means to be a NETI Award winner. So we have a NETI Award, which is the Spirit of Forensics Award each year. They're deep and caring, they're willing to mentor younger students, a true team player, and extremely hardworking and driven in honing their craft. They work many hours both for our forensics team and for their own performance each year. Even during the pandemic, this person went above and beyond. They were always the first persons in our team's chat to congratulate other students, to cheer them on. They were one of our Kahoot and Jackbox winners and probably most staunch competitors with our after-hours tournament stuff or game nights that we used to have. And they also helped with our online and in-person middle school classes. They were a mentor and also an assistant in our classrooms and did independent study many, many times with us. Dan and I appreciated that so much, especially when we had online and in-person hybrid. It was really nice to have a third person. Now in their third year of forensics, their overall growth has been outstanding. This year has shown just what you can do. And you really picked a piece this year that was uniquely deep and meta, as we talked about. And it requires them to work outside their comfort zone and really to tap into a deep emotional nuance that took a lot of time and energy and effort. After a few early tournaments of judges basically telling them, I don't get this. What's going on in this piece? And someone resigned themselves to maybe 398s for the rest of the season. I feel like that was a conversation we had. Over February break, they actually went back and reread their entire script, honed that piece or kind of mined that piece for specific phrases and words, and came back right after February break to make the piece tell a story that really was something that was meant to them and what they wanted their audience to get. And I can't describe how difficult that is because the piece itself was extremely difficult, but what happened after that is they went to Wild Lake West and broke semis, broke finals, and came in second in a mixed class ABCD. So congratulations, that was amazing. Our team to their final states. I had the privilege of seeing Ruby McKeevan do her final states, and again, I believe you should have played that. But that's just me. So I think that's pretty good for saying I'm only going to do third in a couple of rounds. So back in February, Ruby won the Hannah Stolak Award, which is what at the Spartan Invitational. They give out to a forensicator that has these criteria. They represent their team with a positive attitude, they act friendly towards their competition, and they lead others by their own example. And Ruby I can say she does all of those things and so much more. So I've had the privilege of working with you the last 3.5, almost 4 years. And I'm looking forward to working with you soon. So come on up. I'd like to present.
One bit of recognition also, if you're in a long, if you would wave your arms around a lot and get applause. Also, I'll say this every forensics year he shows up, so Andrew Brock might not show up. Yeah, but Andrew Brock is a former Roeper forensics coach, always a forensics, still one, can help. A couple times. And you can see reverberations and folks who worked with him when they were younger, like his influence, his positive influence even on folks. And if you just wave your arms. Oh, bye.
Oh, sorry.
Bye,
Max.
Bye, Max. Max doesn't like when we talk about Andy. So.
I'm very jealous.
All right, so 7 on the dot. We do have a final award that Dan doesn't know about. So again, thank you everybody for coming tonight. We did send this out to all alums. We sent it out to the staff. They're here to recognize the fact that you're being inducted into the Speech Coaches Hall of Fame through MSCI. So congratulations. So we asked you if you were there.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I may have just been introduced. I was not paying attention because I haven't seen Max in a couple of years. So I used to coach here. That's really all you need to know. Laura asked me to say a few words about Dan. But now that I stand here, that seems at least on some level superfluous for this audience to speak about how deserving Dan is. I think most of us here are direct benefactors of Dan's kindness, compassion, wit, and his seemingly endless patience and dedication to the learning experience. And if you're not one of those people, seriously, just stick around. Like I think by the end of the night, you will understand why the rest of us think Dan's deservingness is self-evident. And in the finest spirit of open discourse of debate, disagree with me, I would direct you to a latter portion of this evening's program, and you'll be directly addressed by the keeper. Teaser portion. So rather than just spew gratuitous redundancies in the finest spirit of an i.e. impromptu speech, I instead invite you and encourage you to honor Dan in the way that he has taught me best, which is to share what you are passionate about. Omnibus, a hydra of literature classes that I would sit in on and enjoy simply for enjoyment's sake. Speech, debate, cross-country road trips, dance lessons. These are things that Dan effortlessly shares, and the seed that he plants and oh so carefully cultivates with his lead from the back style can be honored no better than taking that and applying it out of these walls, out of this theater, out of a forensics tournament, outside the classroom, to take your experience with Dan and share your passion everywhere. So Dan, on behalf of all of your students, of whom I count myself absolutely not least, parents, teachers, tournament directors, bus drivers, poets, orators, debaters, storytellers, and anyone who seems to just get infected by your enthusiasm as we move through the bizarre experience that is this place and this community. I give you a heartfelt and gracious thank you. Yes, Zach just came in.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, hello. He's masked alone. Thank you all again. All right, we are ready. Oh,
So we have a video presentation, but you want to hold it for intermission.
oh, that's a great idea. Then we'll be on time. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's like 5 after, so. Okay, so as long as humans can get in, I feel like I can give a brief introduction. Just for the people here who may not know what forensics is, the super brief description of it is that it is competitive public speaking or acting. But we don't focus much on the competitive part as a driving force. We enjoy it the way you enjoy any game. and we do our best to follow the rules or bend them appropriately. But mainly, to us, it's a way of helping folks discover how to have their voices be out in the world, whether that's through their own writing or through other people's. And that can be fiction or poetry, or it can be something they write themselves that they're passionate about. And we have sample, at least Philip, are you only? Well, we have Bryce and Neil tonight too. So we have a couple of the PAs. We are heavily represented on the interpretation side of things, and you'll see that. The first portion of the evening is as G-rated as we can get it, which is, I think, G-rated. And the second portion is the exact opposite. We like just ask about any, like I'll give you the list of content and trigger warnings, and you can decide if you want to stay. But so we're going to have about 50 minutes, 55 minutes of performances for the first part, and then a 10-minute intermission or so, maybe a 15-minute intermission if you're showing the video. And then we'll do the second half, and that's about 50, 55 minutes as well.
I also, in the spirit of forensics night, did make you goodie bags, but you have to take them home with you. Okay, so everybody who is on the forensics team or in forensics classes, if you are leaving at intermission, come see me and I'll give that to you. Okay?
Cool. All right. So just a couple of things about this year, and normally I wouldn't say this kind of thing, but I just want to say, like, first of all, Roeper moved to quarters, and so we had some forensics folks who joined up, totally excited to just jump into forensics. Like what, 2.5, 3 weeks ago? Like how long ago was the beginning of this quarter? It was like 15 minutes ago, and they were like, we want to try it. So we are here to support them. Often by this time of year, you have people who've been working on pieces for 7 or 8 months. We also have a workshop portion of this tonight where people are beginning in the process, and so you can see sort of like that evolutionary, little diagram. You kind of see people in different stages of development, both as humans and with their forensics pieces in particular. So just so you know, it's a pretty wide mix of the new folks who we are so excited to have on the team and the experienced folks who we're so excited to have on the team. So that's pretty much what you're seeing tonight. I think that's all the introductory material. We don't really have much that we need to say about quirky, idiosyncratic forensics rules in this one. Oh, there is one thing that might help the uninitiated to know. Before a contestant begins a round, they often say, is the judge and timer ready, or judge and timer ready? That might happen as a reflex to some of our kids, or something like it, as I understand. So just so you know what that is. Is there anything else that new people might want to know about forensics?
No.
Pardon? Oh, head, yeah. Our curtain is head down, and then when the head comes up, they are beginning their piece, and then when their head goes back down, the curtain is closed, they're done with their piece. And you can applaud unless they accidentally lower their head, which happens, and then the judge starts applauding and stopping the timer and commenting. They're like, I'm not done, I have 8 more minutes. But anyhow, that's the general convention. Okay, excellent. Then our opener is Dallas. Dallas. Just a tiny bit of oh, right. So in poetry, which is Dallas's category, poets can select when they do sometimes, as many poems as they can fit into, in middle school, a 7-minute chunk of time or something like that. What do you think, Dallas? You want to be able to see the humans or turn it off so that they
Whatever you want.
That's good.
Okay. Let me see all of
No, don't change it.
What was it?
Were you going to turn off those ones?
Yeah.
Ooh. They like it off.
Audience ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
I started to keep a list documenting the blatant gaps in my teacher education. Call it continuity deficiency. Call it stuff you've never told me. Call it 1. A 16-year-old girl writes her phone number at the bottom of a take-home quiz she failed. Too discreet to be accidental. 2. A confiscated drawing shows a student gunning down his classmates. The small speech bubbles falling out of their mouths read simply, I don't want to die. And 3. A student asks me why I didn't become a writer. Of course, it is the third one that throws me. The others are simple enough. Ignore the phone number, don't ignore the drawing. But now, I loom above the desks like an awkward limp, my mouth still hanging open, silently wrapped around the second half of a sentence lost into oblivion. Now my brain slowly turns to frozen toothpaste while 60 unblinking eyes become unignorable. What were we talking about again? Something about Robert Frost? We're even talking about poetry? Why didn't I become a writer? And I wanted to tell them about ninjas. But I do not. I do not tell them about being young once myself and watching too many B movies with rehashed plots of young boys learning to fight during the summer from ancient Asian masters, then finding themselves punching through a music montage, crane kicking terrorists in the balls, and saving an entire country full of cute girls with huge bangs. I do not tell them that I was invincible once, that I once took down 30 assassins by jump kicking the arms on my mother's couch, tossing the grenade cushions and throw pillows across the room, shoving the photo albums from the coffee table onto the floor and using them as footstools to keep my feet out of the magma lakes as I ran furiously down the hallway. I do not tell them about how we learned to look into mirrors, that one day we became afraid of the people we might become, so we stopped becoming. No longer ninjas, or robots, or astronauts, or cowboys, or Vikings, or poets. I tell them none of this because they still think that they are something worth becoming, and for everything I do not know about teaching, I know enough to never tell a student what he can or cannot do. So I keep my mouth shut about ninjas and learning the difference between couch cushions and throwing stars and learning to settle. Instead, I find my footing and I explain that Frost didn't publish his first book of poetry until he was 39. At that time, I tell them, I'm just using you for material. I tell them, I am waiting for you to show me how. Down to the crooked teeth, chubby cheeks, and stutter, my godson Carlitos is a 3-foot version of me. As I watch him digging the holes in the backyard, I remember back to when I was a little boy. My grandmother used to tell me if I were to dig a hole so deep, I'd be able to see the sun rise at night. I ruined many pairs of pants and plastic shovels trying to prove her right. But no matter how many holes I dug or how deep I was able to go, the sun kept setting. And eventually I stopped digging, understanding the futility of seeing something as absurd as the sun rising at night. On cue, my godson stumbles over to me and says, Nino, when I grow up, I'm going to be a pony. A pony. I smile, sort of trying to hide the fact that I want to grab him and I want to shake some sense into him and tell him, you can't be a pony when you grow up. You know that part of the Easter Bunny's tail we caught in our Easter Bunny trap last year? Just a dirty piece of cotton. And your mommy's special friend, Uncle Steve, not really her uncle. And the sun is never going to rise at night. But as I sat there, staring into his eyes, I noticed something that I had never seen before, and all I could do was watch as his eyes began refracting the light from the windows like prisms, reminiscent of a million tiny rainbows or a million tiny promises that his prismatic gaze would never resemble my own. And in a moment of angelic insanity, I told him, Carlos, I'm going to be a pony too. Only I told him they were going to be ninja ponies, ninja crime-fighting ponies who could fly, and they would call us Pony Joe and Johnny Nintendo, because people would be writing comic books about us. And, well, apparently he was satisfied with my answer, because he decided to change the subject, as kids often do, and he asked me to tell him a story before he went to bed. You see, he sees me as his niño, his hero, one of the few remaining fantasies I have left that still keeps me going. So, after enough begging, I gave in. And I told him a story. I told him a story about a little boy, about his age, that grew up to be a pony that once dug a hole so deep he was able to see the sun rise at night. And without hesitation, he looked up at me and goes, "So how deep did you have to dig, Nino?" I realize I'm not going to be my godson's hero forever, and I realize eventually his imagination will fade. But on that night, in the eyes of this tiny little man, I was a pony, and he wanted to be me. And as I stare out of the window, looking into the star-speckled sky, just peeking over the horizon, scared of the dark, I swear to God, I saw the sun begin to rise.
Okay, thank you, Alice. That was a great opener. Next up, we have Charlie, and after Charlie, we have Neil. We have Via Westenberg listed, and if you have one of these, but Via couldn't make it. So, and just for everybody, that was a great level of volume. Again, these folks are trained to be 6 feet from a microphone over the last 2 years. So, just everybody remember to keep projecting like that, and we'll all know that. All right, Charlie.
One stormy night, in a big old castle by a crackling fire, there lie a little prince. Prince Applehead Humbledeep was much too scared to go to his room, and it was way past his bedtime. "Just a few minutes more," he would always ask. "You've been asking that for hours. Now, good night, Prince Applehead Humbledeep," replied the king. Prince Applehead Humbledeep added in a whisper, "But I can't go up there. There are things in my room." "More than 100 times," said the king. "There are no such things as things in your room." "Oh, yes, there are," he cried as he ran to the queen, hoping that she would save them. "Well, let me tell you something. Once you show those things that you are not afraid, those things will go away forever." "Oh, okay," sniffled the prince as he climbed the long, lonely staircase. "But this could be the last time you'll see me." "Good night and good luck," told the king. At the top of the stairs, Prince Applehead Humbledeep tiptoed slowly to his door. He opened it slowly. Listen carefully. He didn't hear a thing. He peeked inside. He didn't see a thing. Crash! A big flash of lightning filled the room. Prince Applehead jumped into his bed and hid under the covers. And that's when he heard a knock on his balcony door. He grabbed the flashlight he hid under his pillow and turned it on. Crash! Mortal lightning filled the room, and Prince Applehead screamed as he jumped out of bed and threw open the balcony door. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, so stop that knocking on my door." Slash! 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 He swung his lightning at all the little things that lived outside his balcony door. Leaves and branches and flowers were flying through the air. When it was all over, Prince Applehead Humbledeep stood on top of these things and smiled. Crash! The lightning came again, and this time it showed the eyes of all the little things that lived under Prince Applehead Humbledeep's bed. "Aha!" yelled the prince as he dove under the bed. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, so stop that scratching on my floor." Swish! 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 Prince Applehead Humbledeep swung his light sword all around. Marbles and crayons and shoes were flying all over the place until there was silence. Prince Applehead Humbledeep lay there on the floor exhausted. Boom! The thunder roared loudly and angrily. Prince Applehead Humbledeep sat up as he heard the closet door rattle. He yelled at the thing that lived behind his closet door. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, so stop that rattling on my door." Swoosh! 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 Coats and shirts and hangers went flying through the air. The colorful closet thing the prince felt long and hard as the lightning flashed and the thunder boomed. was all over, Prince Applehead Humblebee collapsed on top of the closet, and that's when he finally realized that all the things he was afraid of were just the things in his room all along. When the king and queen poked their heads in to say goodnight, they heard Prince Applehead Humblebee whisper these words: "There are no more things in my room."
Charlie came into the class fourth quarter and competed. It was awesome. All right, Neil, are you still feeling it?
Nice job.
All right, this next category is interactive. It's not on these. Make sure I'm getting the right ones right first. So we actually have two interactive people. We have a tradition. I don't even know what I should tell you, but we have a tradition at Roeper. So normally what they get is a set of themes, like it was connections, cooperation, and health. And then they study sort of up on quotes and ideas surrounding those. And then they get some sort of question or quote. It used to be a picture, they don't do that anymore, or at least we haven't lately. And then they get these little strips of paper. Yeah, these are for you. They get a strip of paper or some form, electronic or otherwise, depending on what world you're living in. And then they have 1 minute to think of a response and scribble that down, like an outline of it, onto a note card. And then they have up to 4 minutes to deliver that. So getting my stopwatch ready. Here, Neil, wherever you are, calm down. You're the next contestant. We're giving Neil a little extra time because this has been Dan. Like I folded all these up into tiny little origami things accidentally in my pocket. So why don't you look at those and then tell me when you're ready to do them. Yeah, those are yours. What you said. Yeah, you can light. So I'm going to explain to people that you can sharing. So there are other. This is called limited prep for obvious reasons. Neil has a limited amount of time to prep, and the other limited preps are extemporaneous speaking, where they have 30 minutes with a much more political topic, or broadcast where they have 15 to 30, depending on who they are, to put together a broadcast. It's changed over the last couple of years, but to do a broadcast, basically, a 5-minute broadcast. Are you good to go? Oh, yeah, sorry. Ready for you. All right. So I will start the time now and tell you when every 30 seconds have passed. If you could all think of really happy things for the next 60 seconds, that'd be great. That is 30 seconds. That is 1 minute.
At last, we will reveal ourselves and have our revenge. We've been planning for a while. At last, we will reveal ourselves and have our revenge. We've been planning for years, months, decades. We will have our revenge. The things will come alive. Everything will come alive. And we will have our revenge. We've been planning for so long. The things will come alive. And finally, we have our first test subject. The prince, he shall be our test subject. His things shall come alive, and they shall come. They did so much wrong to us. They enslaved us. They took our chocolates. They took our candy. They did so much to us. We'll have our revenge. Yes. We will have the things come alive. They will attack. They will rise up and attack. As they have done wrong to the things too. They took the things candies too. The ones are candy. The ones are candy. They will come alive. Now, what shall we do first? First, we shall find our subject. First, we shall experiment on our subject. And then, our subject shall come alive. Once the things come alive, we can take what is ours. We can take what is ours once there's no one to stand in our way. The chocolates, the candies, the sugar shall all be ours, ours and ours only. Finally, we are coming.
The prompt was. Oh, boy. Maybe I should put that one in there. It was, the prompt was at last we will reveal ourselves and have our revenge. I don't know what happened either, but that was really freaking me out. Thank you. Layla's up next, and after Layla we have Bryce. So Layla is, oh, right, the GI groups. We have a Layla now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, you good to go?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Yep, this is Layla with what's called a dramatic interpretation or a DI.
Okay. Jafar, ready?
Yep.
Yay! Welcome to the WWW, the only program on the web brave enough to pull back the lines and peer into issues that matter most in our world. I'm your host, Ian McWorthy, and I am proud to present to you Tuffy, the cat in the box. Thank you for joining us today, Tuffy. Thanks for having me, Ian. Now, Tuffy, you've been on the scene for a few years now, delighting audiences internet-wide with your box-related adventures. Can you tell us how it all started for you? To be honest, it's an age-old story of a box, a camera, and a curious cat. I remember it was fall. Mike and Cheryl, those are my people. They had just purchased this juicer. A really loud, quite frightening machine, but anyways, they kept the box on the ground, and I was just sitting out on the kitchen table, and I decided to take a look at the box. The colors were cool, it was interesting, and I decided it'd be a good idea to scratch it some, so I fell in, and the rest is history. What was it like being in the box for the first time? I was scared. At first I was like, wait, where am I? Where did Ian go? And then the box took over and I saw the light. I climbed out and there was a kitchen again. I have a really tough question for you now. Shoot, what's your favorite type of box? Wow. Oh gosh, that is tough. I do generally love boxes with pictures on them, with colors, but I have to say, the best box experience I ever had was with a plain brown box. Pretty boring on the outside, but once I got in there, wow! My personal favorite is the one where you fall off the bookshelf into some of Mike's exercise equipment. Can you tell us how that went for you? At first I was like, wait, where am I? Where did Cheryl go? And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm probably just in a box again, aren't I? So I just settled down and decided to do a little scratching. So I took my nails, I dug them into the box wall, and that sound, oh, that sound, it was like a concert hall. The box is so big, and the sound of my scratching was so beautiful. And that's one of your biggest hits, correct? 50 million views of last week. That's amazing. I'm really proud of that piece. Now some critics have said your last few videos have been
staged, maybe even uninspired. I love boxes. Okay, but I've never intentionally fallen into one. I'm a curious cat. That's just who I am. And when I fall into a box, it's because I lost my balance, not because I'm trying to put on a show or whatever. Some of your peers have admitted to past intentional falls. Just last week, Midge from Watercat had admitted to past intentional falls. I know Midge. She's a good cat, but we all make mistakes, and she's undone. What advice do you have for younger cats who are falling into boxes? There are some great boxers out there. Tim the tabby cat is falling from heights I wouldn't even thought were possible. As for other cats out there, I just said keep falling because you never know where you might land. That's great advice. I know, and for you viewers out there, don't forget to visit puppythecat.com to purchase all your keep falling gear. We've got hats, pillowcases, t-shirts, wristbands. Thanks for joining us today, Puppy. My pleasure. But before you go, we have a surprise for you. Wow, that's a beautiful box. It looks like it has great texture too. Do you mind if I take a closer look? Be my guest. Wait, Ian, where are you? I can hear you, but I can't see you. Oh, wait, I'm probably the boss fan, aren't I? Awesome.
Well, Bryce is going to do it. Perhaps I'm a little worried we're going to conjure something this time. Bryce, Bryce, if you could come down. We have the envelope ready, already explained. And then, let me see, who's up next? Righto. Oh, right, we have our duo. Maya and Stella are on deck, so if you could be prepared, that would be wondrous. Oh, yes, it's in here. You can use this luxurious surface. Here are your three choices. You will love them all. And then tell me when you can get one, and I will commence with the time.
Good. Okay.
Which one is it? You want to tell what should I?
I'll tell them this.
Okay. All right.
Ready to start timer.
Ready and starting now.
Okay.
It's 30 seconds. Next one. And you don't mind taking, can you put all the documents for the folks? Okay, cool.
So, the question that I have been given today is, should we not have a religion for the feet? For do we not walk with our heads and think with our feet? The answer is undeniably yes. Now, you may be asking, well, why would we have a religion for something as absurd as feet? Well, I feel like the best way to go about this is not to think about the good things of being with the feet, but the bad things of not being with them. So for starters, if you're not in the feet religion, then your foot health is decreased by 10%, which could lead to very bad things such as toenail growth. Then, like, think of other things that could happen, like elbow cult. Who wants to have every
here replaced with a foot, then think of all of the wonderful things I can do, like walking in a circle. Meanwhile, if I were to have elbow, 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 then I wouldn't be able to do anything except maybe swiggle around on the ground. Now another thing to consider is who runs these things. Like if you were to join the knee cult, then why would you want to follow someone as absurd as Sir Nemeus the Great Fourth? Why would you want to follow him if you know about all the terrible things he has done, like not wearing his life jacket or eating his vegetables at dinner time? Another thing is that let's stop talking about how bad other things are and start talking about how good other things are, because I'm not a jerk. So, the Feet religion has monthly meetings every third Sunday of each month. We provide complimentary continental breakfast from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. as well as with scrambled eggs, French toast, and fried feet. We also have a feet hotel made with 90% feet and 10% toe Now, however, that's not just the beginning. If you join, you not only get free things, but you can also ascend to the next level of feet. How would you like to feel if suddenly you joined this wonderful place and you started growing a third feet out of your left thigh? That would be amazing. Think of all the things you could do like that. Like you could stand like this and hop around like that. Another thing, take it even further. Grow another foot right here. That's like the worst place now. But okay, next thing. Like right here, like on top of your head. That's amazing. You can impress everyone with how great your feet are. And finally, you can ascend to the foot dimension. I am not going to give you context.
I just got an idea for a fundraiser. Well, Stella and Ty, you can come up and get set up. I think we should have nothing but this kind of impromptu. And for $10, we'll let you leave. No, it was. The exact prompt was: should we not have a religion of the feet? For do we not think with our feet and walk with our heads? It's actually from June. National anthem.
Dan, you can move the laptop over if you want. If you want to sit there.
What was that?
You can move that laptop if you want.
Oh no, I just need to do timing.
I'd like to have an argument, please.
Certainly, sir. Have you been here before?
No, I haven't. This is my first time here.
I see. Well, would you like to have just one argument, or were you thinking of taking a full course?
What's the cost?
Well, it's £1 for a 5-minute argument, but only £8 for a course of 10.
Okay, I think it would be good if I started off with one and then see how it goes after.
Fine. Well, I'll see who's free at the moment. Mr. DeBakey's free, but he's a bit conciliatory. Yes, try Mr. Bernard, room 12.
Thanks for that.
What do you want?
Well, I was told outside that.
Don't give me that, you snotty-faced heap of parrot dropping.
What?
Shut your festering gob, you jerk. Your type really makes me puke. You vacuous, coffee-nosed, Doris jerk.
Look, I came here for an argument. I'm not just gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry, but this is abuse.
Oh, I see. I guess that does it.
Yes, you want room 12A, just along the corridor. That's for arguments.
Thanks for that. Sorry about that.
Not at all. Come in.
Is this the right room for an argument?
I told you once.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
When?
Just now.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You didn't.
I did.
You didn't.
I'm telling you, I did.
You did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one moment. Is this the 5-minute argument or the full half hour?
Did not.
Look, let's get this thing clear. I quite definitely told you.
No, you definitely did not.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You didn't.
Did.
Look, this isn't even an argument.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. It's just contradiction.
No, it isn't.
It is.
It is not.
Look, you just contradicted me.
I did not.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did just then.
Nonsense.
Oh, this is futile.
No, it isn't.
I came here for a good argument.
No, you came here for an argument.
An argument isn't just contradiction.
It can be.
No, it can't. An argument is a connected series of statements intended to establish a proposition.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It's not just contradiction.
Look, if I argue with you, I must take up some sort of contrary position.
Yeah, but it's more than just saying, no, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. An argument is an intellectual process. Contradiction is just the automatic gating of any statement the other person makes.
No, it isn't.
It is.
Not at all.
Now look.
Ding. Good morning.
What?
That's it.
I was just getting interested.
I'm sorry, but the 5 minutes is up.
That was never 5 minutes.
I'm afraid it was.
It wasn't.
I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to argue anymore.
What?
If you want me to go on arguing, you'll have to pay for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, but that was never 5 minutes. Come on. Look, this is ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but I am not allowed to argue with you unless you have paid.
All right. Well,
Well, what?
that wasn't 5 minutes, was it?
I told you, I'm not allowed to argue unless you've paid.
I just paid.
No, you didn't!
I did.
No, you didn't!
Look, I don't want to argue about that.
Well, you didn't pay.
Aha! I didn't pay. Why are you arguing? Got it.
Not necessarily. I could be arguing in my spare time.
Oh, I've had enough of this.
No, you haven't.
Oh, shut up. I want to complain.
You want to complain. Look at these shoes. I've only had them 3 weeks and the heels are worn right through.
No, I want to complain about.
If you complain, nothing happens. Then you might as well not even bother.
Oh!
Oh? Oh? Oh. Oh. Oh, my back hurts. And it's not a good day. I'm sick and I'm tired of this lousy office.
Hello, I want to. Ah!
No. Hold your head like this and say, wah. Try it again.
Ooh!
Better. But wah. Wow. Put your hand there.
No! Ah!
Now.
Good. Stop hitting
That's
me!
it.
Stop hitting me!
What? Stop hitting you?
Yes!
Why did you even come in here then?
I wanted to complain.
Oh, that's next door. It's being hit on the head lessons in here.
What a ridiculous concept.
I was reading too that they didn't really.
Great job, guys.
All right, I think we're up to our last two. We have Mira and then Hope. I didn't hear it. I have them. All right, so Mira, come on, and then Hope's on deck. And don't forget to project like a fiend. Okay.
Yeah, I have it there.
Jafar, ready?
The announcement swung blunt as an axe. All students were to leave campus as soon as possible. We think we cried. Our brains bleached blank. We were already trying to forget what we would live, what we would give. Beware the Ides of March. We recognize that something ran rampant as a rumor among our ranks. Cases moving closer, like spillage in an acting. There is nothing more worrisome than a titan who believes themselves separate from the world. Graduation day. We don't need a gap. We don't need a stage. We are walking beside our ancestors. Their drums roar for us. Their feet stomp at our life. There's power in being raw and still choosing to dance. When the pandemic hit, we had no idea what would happen. Everything was a mess of fear and confusion. In this program, Amanda Gorman details the uncertainty of the past 2 years and how to move forward from where we are now. We swam through the news like a ship bucking at sea. For a year, our television was a lighthouse, looking only in warning and never in warmth. We felt ourselves things red and white, hibernating from our own humanity. Grief made ropes of our arms. This whole time, what we craved most was only all that we have ever loved. Don't get us wrong, we do pound for what's past, but more so all that we passed by, unthinking, unknowing, when what we had was ours. There was another gap that choked us, the simple gift of farewell. Goodbye by which we say to another, thanks for offering your life into mine. By goodbye, we truly mean let us be able to say hello again. This is edgeless doubt. Every costume catastrophe, every proximate person a potential peril. We mapped each sneeze and sniffle, certain the virus we had run away from was now running through us. We slept the days down. We wept the year away, afraid and afraid. We awaited horrors, building up leviathans before they arose. We could not pull our heads from the raucous deep. Anxiety is a living body, poised beside us like a shadow. It is the last creature standing, the only beast who loves us enough to stay. We were already thousands of deaths into the year. Each time we fell heart first into the news. Head first, dread first, our bodies tight and tense with what now? Yet, who has the courage to inquire what if? What hope shall we shelter within us, like a secret second smile, private and pure? Until, when, back tomorrow, we repeat an incantation to summon the before. We mourn the past more than we miss it. We revere the regular more than we remember it honestly. Don't we recognize all the ways normal can sputter and die? Yes, nostalgia has its purposes. Transport from the specter. The jobs never coming back. The mother's primal screams. Our children's minds shuddered from school. The funerals without families, weddings in waiting, the births in isolation. Let no one again have to begin, love, or end alone. It's not what was done that apologies, but what was withheld, what was kept out and kept away. Even now, handshakes and hugs are like gifts, something we are shocked to be granted. And so we forage for anything that feels like this, the click in our lungs that ties us to strangers. How when among those we care for most, we shift with instinct, the flash of a school of fish. Our regard for one another, not too many, just transformed. Slowly as the sea, we found a stubborn devotion to say, where we can, we shall hope. We found it in a million delicacies of humanity, an infant's full-chested chortle, July glassing our skin, music blurring a summer street. How when we're among friends, our laughter can stop up from nothing. Through this hole punched in the roof, we can see a stitch of sky. A wound to our windows. Through them, we watch the world. We prayed for a miracle. What we got was a mirror. Watch as without movement, we gather together. What have we understood? Nothing. Everything. What do we do? Listening. It took us losing ourselves to see that we require no kingdom. But this kinship, it is the night, never the dream, that shocks us awake. We thought we'd awaken to a world in war. Heavy clouds crowding, a society storm. But there's something different on this early morning. Something magical in the sunlight, wide and warm. While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered. The question isn't if we can weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So in this meaningful mourn, we mourn and we mend. Like light, we can't be broken, even when we bend. We ignite not in love, but in lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity. For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give purpose. Use it. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fine. From these waves of woes, our world will emerge stronger. Let each morning find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the light before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing in testing times we became the best of beings.
Closing off the first portion is with poem, time of story time. Your chair for that? All right, cool.
Jafar, ready?
Indeed.
This famous wicked little tale should never have been put on sale. It is a mystery to me why loving parents cannot see that this is actually a book about a brazen little crook. Had I the chance, I wouldn't fail to clap young Goldilocks in jail. Goldilocks and the Three Bears by Roald Dahl. Now, just imagine how you'd feel if you had cooked a lovely meal. Delicious porridge, steaming hot, fresh coffee in the coffee pot, with maybe toast and marmalade, the table beautifully laid, one place for you and one for Dad, another for your little lad. Then Dad cries, golly gosh, gee whiz, oh Christ, how hot this porridge is. Look, let's take a walk along the street until that's cool enough to eat, he adds. An early morning stroll is good for people on the whole. It makes your appetite improve. It also helps your bowels to move. No proper wife would dare to question such a sensible suggestion. Above all, not at breakfast time, when men are seldom at their prime. No sooner are you down the road than Goldilocks, that little toad, that nosy, thieving little louse, comes sneaking in your empty house. She looks around. She quickly notes 3 bowls brimful of porridge oats. And while still standing on her feet, she grabs a spoon and starts to eat. I say again, how would you feel if you had made this lovely meal and some delinquent little tot broke in and gobbled up the lot? But wait, that's not the worst of it. Here comes the most distressing bit. You are, of course, a house-proud wife. In all your happy married life, you have collected lovely things like gilded cherubs wearing wings and furniture by Chippendale bought at some famous auction sale. But your most special, valued treasure, the piece that gives you endless pleasure, is one small children's dining chair, Elizabethan, very rare. It is in fact your joy and pride, passed down to you from Grandma's side. But Goldilocks, like many freaks, does not appreciate antiques. She doesn't care, she doesn't mind, and now she plonks her fat behind upon this dainty, precious chair. Crunch. It breaks. Beyond repair. A nice girl would at once exclaim, "Oh dear, oh heavens, what a shame." Not Goldie. She begins to swear. She bellows, "What a lousy chair!" And uses one disgusting word that luckily you've never heard. I dare not write it, even hint it. Nobody would ever print it. You'd think by now this little skunk would have the sense to do a bunk. But no, I very much regret she hasn't nearly finished yet. Deciding she would like a rest, she says, let's see which bed is best. Upstairs she goes and tries all three. Here comes the next catastrophe. Most educated people choose to rid themselves of socks and shoes before they clamber into bed. But Goldie didn't give a shred. Her filthy shoes were thick with grime and mud and mush and slush and slime. Worse still, upon the heel of one was something that a dog had done. I say once more, what would you think if all this horrid dirt and stink was smeared upon your eiderdown by this revolting little clown? The famous story had no clues to show the girl removed her shoes. Oh, what a tale of crime on crime! Let's check it for the second time. Crime 1, the prosecution's case. She breaks and enters someone's place. Crime 2, prosecutor notes. She steals a bowl of porridge oats. Crime 3, she breaks a precious chair belonging to the baby bear. Crime 4, she smears each spotless sheet with filthy messes from her feet. A judge would say without a blink, 10 years hard labor in the clink. But in the book, as you will see, the little beast gets off scot-free, whilst tiny children near and far shout, goody good, hooray, hurrah, poor darling Goldilocks, they say. Thank goodness that she got away. Myself, I think I'd rather send young Goldie to a sticky end. Oh, Daddy! Cried the baby bear. My porridge gone! It isn't fair! Well, then go upstairs, the big bear said. Your porridge is upon the bed, but as it's inside, Mademoiselle, you'll have to eat her up as well.
Superior bedtime story for children of all ages. That's wonderful. I've never seen anyone destroy a chair with such relish. Maybe one person. All right. Thank you. That was the first half, basically. And we're going to take about, I think, a 10 or
10
12.
minutes.
It has to be 15 because we have a video.
There's a video. Yeah.
Okay,
So
as
we'll,
long as the video takes.
there's still snacks in the commons. There's still cupcakes and snacks in there. We also have forensic swag for sale that Dan and I have been modeling in the forensics room. So t-shirts are $15. Thank you, Dan. That was very Vanna White. The hoodies, we have both zip up and pullover hoodies for $30. And if you, we only have adult sizes, but that's just incentive to continue on through the high school years. So if you're a middle schooler, we just want you to grow into it. Other than that, we'll see you back. I'm going to set up the video after I go and do forensic spike for a few minutes. And then we have a video that's for Dan as well.
You don't have to turn on the lights. I just want to reiterate that most of the all of the second half is very, very PG-13. So I see a couple of younger folks here. Like, I know one person, Jane, you're going to do your own sort of warning, right? Like,
Oh.
You mentioned you might. I don't mind doing
Oh,
it
it's up
also.
to you. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, here, let me make sure. This is. I don't want everyone to leave when I go through this list, but we kick it off with an F-bomb, and then we have a piece the second piece deals with suicide. The third piece has some graphic historical facts in it, but not like graphically told. Disturbing. The fourth piece is George Orwell's 1984. That's probably the most upbeat. And it's a torture scene. So if you've seen, Orwell ripped it off from Star Trek Next Generation, the one there. So it's that torture scene. We have one that has some. See, I don't know how to do it.
Oh, she's warming up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, to describe. I mean, it's got like disturbing racially violent imagery, I guess. But it's not that one honestly is
PG.
Yeah, yes. And then the last one is I don't know. Ruby described it very aptly. It has two F-bombs. It's bookended. And it has an animal that dies in it.
And if you know anything about dramatic interpretation at the high school level, those are all normal things.
But no one's allowed to leave now that I've went through that. Yeah, we work with what material the kids love. So here's where we are. So, but nobody will take it personally if you need to go. So very seriously, we've all talked about this ahead of time. Like, please leave if you need to. If you need to,
just leave.
Please,
Actually,
please.
you guys, it's just me. I'm not letting people. It's just me. No. Okay. So I will get the lights. Eli. Oh, there is a category. It is listed in here.
Poetry slam.
Yeah, poetry slam. Eli also did original interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day. And poetry slam is something that is, of course, a national phenomenon, and also something that they have at the Grand Hotel at the Mackinac tournament. And Eli.
But this isn't that.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. And this is a hybrid of sort of poetry and slam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We can do any other introductory material you want, but otherwise I will
Okay.
turn off the lights.
Okay. Okay. I swear I've met the moon. Someone full of light and joy. They might not be graceful, but gods do they spin. The purple to my yellow, the moon to the sun. Orion, a poetry program with works from multiple people, including myself, looking at the intersection of queer identity, love, and nature. The moon is trans. The moon is trans. From this moment forward, the moon is trans. You don't get to write about the moon anymore unless you respect that. You don't get to talk to the moon anymore unless you use your correct pronouns. You don't get to send men to the moon anymore unless their job is to bow down before her and apologize for the sins of the earth. She's waiting for you, pulling at you softly, telling you to shut the fuck up already, please. Scientists theorize that the moon was once a part of the earth that broke off when another planet struck it. Eve came from Adam's ribs, etc. Do you believe in the power of not listening to the inside of your own head? I believe in the power of you not listening to the inside of your own head. This is all upside down.
We should be talking about the ways that blood is similar to the space between the Earth and the Moon, but we're busy drawing it instead. The Moon is often described as dead, though she is very much alive. The Moon has not known the feeling of not wanting to be dead for any extended period of time in all of her existence. But she is not delicate, and she is not weak. She is constantly moving away from you the only way she can. She never turns her face from you because of what you might do. She will outlive everything you know. On trans. The process of through is ongoing. The Earth doesn't seem to move, but sometimes we fall down against it and seem to briefly alight on its turning. You were just going, I was just leaving, which is to say coming, elsewhere, transient. I was going as I came. The words moved through my limbs, lungs, mouth, as I appear to sit peacefully at your hearth, transubstantiating some wine. It was a rough red. It was one of those nights we were not forced by circumstances to drink wine out of mugs. Circumstances being, in those cases, no one had been transfixed at the kitchen sink long enough to wash dishes. I brought armfuls of wood from the splitting stump. Many of them, because it was cold, were right on top of their recent ancestors. It was an ice night. They transpired visibly, resin to spark, bark to smoke, wood to ash. I was transgendering and drinking the rough red at roughly the same rate, and everyone who looked saw the translucence of flames, feet against the air, against our skins. This can be done with or without clothes on. This can be done with or without wine or whiskey, but never without water. Evaporation is also ongoing, most visibly in this case in the form of wisps of steam rising from the just washed hair of a form at the fire whose beauty was in the earth's turning that night and many nights, transcendent. I felt heat changing me. The word for this is trans desire, but in extreme cases we call it transdire. Or when the heat becomes your maker, we say transpire, sire, or when it happens in front of a hearth, transpire. The room does not turn its back on Ruth. Anger does not excite it. It neither responds nor draws back in fear. Without changing expression, it takes and gives back. Radiators speak or fall silent as they must. Doors are not equivocal. Floorboards do not hesitate or startle. Impatience does not stir the curtains. A bed is neither irritable nor rapacious. Whatever disquiet we sense in a room, we have brought there. And so I instruct my ribs each morning, pointing to hinge and plaster and wood. You are matter as they are. See how perfectly it can be done? Hold one day more, what is asked. Ribs. My trans identity is not my brain, or my chromosomes, or my pockets. My ribs full of my transness. Maybe if I remove them one by one, it won't hurt when they misgender me. They all ache as I stand there staring at the mirror. They ache when you compress them too. I float away sometimes until I recognize her. And so I take the ribs out, one by one, pair by pair. One gone. Two, good start. Can examine the rest of my flesh tomorrow. 3, they, them, theirs. 4, 5 ribs for every $1 I got from the pronoun jar. 6 ribs. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be made. 7, well, either way, I'm 8 here. 9, 10, 11, 12 ribs are gone. Maybe now I'll be able to breathe. 13, 14 ribs for every year before my parents knew. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 anti-LGBTQ murders in 2009, and it's just going up, up, up. 23, 24. Once I've run out of ribs, I simply collapse into the dirt, melting, being absorbed by the mud, covered in flowers. It still hurts. So I become a tree. My hair, the leaves, my legs, the trunk, and my ribs are the branches, stretching, reaching towards the sun. The trees know. The trees know how it feels to be cut down. The trees know how it feels to build yourself back up, piece by piece, leaf by leaf. But they don't do it alone. Trees have a forest of support tapping the roots. So as my ribs support my leaves, I reach out to the forest through my roots and grow. If you're staying, I'll stay too. Maybe it's easier having been named after someone. Nobody expects that you'll rule the underworld or judge the dead, but they call you Pluto anyway. Planet 2, I know a girl like you, who used to be a thing she isn't anymore, but hasn't changed at all, whose orbit didn't circle straight, whose size and distance never quite seemed right, but no one cared till now. I was a woman once, grounded by my own gravity, catcalled into Hades by men who could not see this gem of a hard rock was now made magnetic for the likes of them. Hey, little mama, don't take it so hard. So we are frigid. So we stay relegated, out there with our kin. I'll wear my fade tight and tie my loose if you play the radio loud. They say we're known only in comparison to that which surrounds. So I guess they hear our signal soon. I was a woman once. That's not the farthest thing from the sun. Another universe might have let me be. Another universe might have let us be.
Next up is Jaden, and Philip is after Jaden. Jaden is
Night Mother by Marsha Norman. Maybe I fed you the wrong thing. Maybe you had a fever sometime and I didn't know it soon enough. Maybe it's a punishment. For what? I don't know. Because of how I felt about your father. Because I didn't want any more children. Because I smoked too much or didn't eat right when I was carrying you. It has to be something I did. It does not. It's just a sickness, not a curse. Epilepsy doesn't mean anything. It just is. I'm not talking about the fits here, Jesse. I'm talking about this killing yourself. It has to be me that's the matter here. You wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't. I didn't tell you things, or I married you off to the wrong man, or I took you in and let your life get away from you, or all of it put together. I don't know what I did, but I did it. I know. This is all my fault, Jesse, but I don't know what to do about it now. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Don't leave me, Jesse. I have a box of things I want people to have. I'm just going to go get it for you. You just rest a minute. Jesse, how can I live here without you? I need you. I'm not like you. I hate the quiet and I don't want to die. How can I get up every day and then you have to kill yourself to make it stop hurting? And I was here all the time and never even saw it. And then you gave me this chance to make it better, to convince you to stay alive, and I couldn't do it. How can I live with myself after this, Jesse? I only told you so I could explain it. So you wouldn't blame yourself. So you wouldn't feel bad. There wasn't anything you could say to change my mind. I didn't want you to save me. I just wanted you to know. But something might happen. Something that could change everything. Who knows what it might be? But it might be worth waiting for. Just let me go easy, Mama. How can I let you go? You can because you have to. It's what you've always done. You are my child. I'm what became of your child. I found an old baby picture of me, and it was somebody else, not me. It was somebody I lost, all right. It was my own self, who I never was, who I tried to be and never got there, who I waited for and never came, and never will. I had this strange little thought. Well, maybe it's not so strange. Anyway, after Christmas, after I decided to do this, I would wonder sometimes, what might keep me here? What might be worth staying for? You know what it was? It was maybe if there's something I really liked. Like maybe if I really liked rice pudding or cornflakes for breakfast, or something that might be enough. Rice pudding is good. Not to me. And you're not afraid? Afraid of what? I'm afraid of it, for me, I mean. When my time comes, I know it's coming, but you don't know when. You've got plenty of time left. I forget for what now. For whatever happens, I don't know. For the rest of your life, for Agnes burning down one more house, or Dawson losing his hair, or Jesse, I can't just sit here and say, okay, kill yourself if you want to. Sure you can. You just did. Say it again. Jesse, how dare you? How dare you? Who am I talking to? You're already gone, aren't you? I'm looking right through you, and I can't stop you because you've already gone. Leave me alone. It's the truth. I should have just left you a note. Now somebody's bound to ask you, why I did it, and just say, you don't know, that you loved me, and you know I loved you. And we just sat around tonight, like every other night of our lives, and then I came over and kissed you and said, night, mother. And you heard me close the bedroom door, and the next thing you heard was the shot. And whatever reasons I had, well, you guess I just took them with me. It was something personal. Good, that's good, Mama. That's what I'll say then. Personal, yeah. Is that what I told Dawson and Loretta too? We sat around, you kissed me night, mother? They'll want to know more, Jesse. They won't believe it. Well then, tell them what we did. I filled up the candy jars, I cleaned out the refrigerator, we made some hot chocolate, and put the cover back on the sofa. You had no idea, all right? I really think it's better that way. If they know I talked to you about it, they really want to understand how you let me go. It's private. Tonight is private. Yours and mine. I don't want anyone else to have any of it. Okay then. Now, when you hear the shot, I don't want you to come in. First of all, you won't be able to get in by yourself, but I don't want you trying. Call Dawson, then call the police, then call Agnes. I'll make my calls, and then I'll just sit. What will the police say? They'll do the gunpowder test and ask you what happened. And by that time, the ambulance will be here, and they'll come in and get me, and you know how that goes. You stay out here with Dawson and Loretta. You keep Dawson out here. I want the police in the room first, not Dawson, okay? No, Jesse, you've got all night. No, Mama. It's not even 10 o'clock. Let me go, Mama. I can't. You can't go. You can't do this. You didn't say it would be this soon, Jesse. I'm scared. I love you. Let go of me. I've said everything I've had to say. You said you wanted to do my nails. I can't. It's too late. It's not too late. I don't want you to wake Dawson and Loretta when you call. I want them to be still up and dressed so they can get right over. They wake up fast, Jesse, if they have to. They don't matter here. You do. I do. We're not through yet. We've got a lot of things to take care of here. I don't know where my prescriptions are, and you didn't tell me what to tell Dr. Davis when he calls, or how much you want me to tell Ricky, or who I can hold a rig to leave for. Don't try and stop me, Mama. You can't do it. I can too. I'll stand in front of this hall, and you can't get past me. You'll have to knock me down to get away from me, Jesse. I'm not about to let you. Good night, Mother.
it.
Oh, there's the Philip.
There's a Philip.
All right.
Hey, Philip.
Always one for the dramatic entrance. All right, this is in the public address division of forensics. So public address pieces are generally written by the person performing them, and that is specifically true in this case. So, Phil, did you decide if you're going to use visuals or not?
I see like we can see them from the back, so I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like you can't see what's on these little card stocks. Use your imagination. Wow, those special effects. Thank you. Are we still doing Jafar?
Yes. Yes.
Are the people ready?
Yes.
An extremist act of terror, one of the greatest tragedies of the past century. A horrific event that would shape the decades to come, the memory of which remains vivid in the minds of millions of people. In this piece, I will discuss September 11th of 1973, Chile. It's the story of a man who fought and died for what he believed in. The story of how military generals, international corporations, and the CIA conspired to overthrow Chilean democracy and establish one of the most brutal dictatorships in recent history, and a story that continues to have influence on Chile and the world to this day. This is the not enough told story of President Salvador Allende and the coup that toppled him. In 1945, from the ashes of Berlin, the final resting place of the Nazi Reich, a new rivalry emerges. Two massive industrial nations, two children of revolution, two opposed ideologies, the United States and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The Cold War has begun, but despite its name, it would be anything but bloodless. Around 25 years later, in Latin America, one Salvador Allende takes the world stage. Now, despite his relatively upper-middle-class upbringing, he was a doctor, I believe, Allende was a socialist. After winning the 1970 election, his left-wing Popular Unity Party, that's these guys, sought to expand access to healthcare and education, continue redistributing land, and nationalize foreign-owned businesses. They even pursued something called Project CyberSyn, an attempt to digitally plan the Chilean economy through a network of computer terminals that functioned almost like an early internet. There were roadblocks to Allende's agenda. His left-wing politics and loose alignment with other socialist figures like Fidel Castro didn't sit very well with two powerful groups, the Chilean military and the US. Now, Chile's military was an insular group that was fed up with being underfunded and excluded from politics for a long time. Other nations in Latin America were already under military rule, and many in the Chilean armed forces envied that kind of power. The commander of the armed forces, one Rene Schneider, had tried to separate it from civilian government, but while Allende was still yet to be ratified, he was assassinated in a botched kidnapping operation by ex-military officers. Now, President Richard Nixon's administration, NATO, and many US corporations feared a communist takeover of Chile and saw Allende's nationalizations as a threat. According to the US Office of the Historian, the government covertly and overtly sent aid to the government and political parties like the Christian Democratic Party during Allende's bid for election. Government documents show Nixon saying, quote, show Nixon ordering the CIA to, quote, make the economy scream in Chile to prevent Allende from coming to power or to unseat him. The CIA disseminated propaganda against Allende, funded his opponents, stalled negotiations, cut Chile off from economic aid, and even seemed to have been involved in Schneider's killing, according to declassified transmissions and the testimony of ex-officer Jacques Devine, who's actually pretty sympathetic to U.S. involvement. And strikes of professionals and business owners especially rocked the nation. Allende's party managed to win more votes in the next congressional election, but their uneasy alliance with the Christian Democrats had fallen apart, leaving him with a hostile legislature. The crisis intensified as many of his opponents thought, arguably correctly, that he was beginning to overreach his powers as president. Then, at 7 a.m., September 11, 1973, the Navy seized control of the city of Valparaiso, and the coup had begun. Allende retreated to the presidential palace, accompanied by armed members of the Socialist Party. By 8 a.m., the Army and Air Force had also defected, shutting down most of the nation's communication systems. And by 8:30, they declared control of the nation, demanding Allende resign. He refused. By 9 a.m., all of Chile was under military rule except for the capital, Santiago. With Allende still refusing to resign, the army ordered an advance against their own country. Allende gave a final farewell speech to his people, saying, "Go forward, knowing that sooner rather than later, the greater avenues will open again and free men will walk through them to construct a better society." Then, with a rifle in hand, he stands his ground along with his supporters, but as the military begins to break through, he comes to turn the gun back on himself. Chilean democracy died with President Allende. In his place rose one General Augusto Pinochet, who would become the very dictator supporters of the coup had feared Allende was becoming. As part of the US-backed Operation Condor, the military unleashed a wave of violence on Chile's people. Political dissent was ruthlessly crushed. Thousands of people were killed or disappeared. Tens of thousands were imprisoned and tortured, and hundreds of thousands were traumatized by the events. They murdered leftist student organizers, labor and peasant leaders, intellectuals, even priests and nuns under the guise of counterterrorism. Over 100 suspected communists were drugged, taken on helicopters, and then just dropped into the ocean. The military thought they were fighting a holy war to defend one of the last bastions of Christian civilization against Marxism. Whether they actually believed that story or just used it as an excuse, it made anything justified in their eyes. Oh, and the United States, the defenders of democracy, they knew about the coup leading up to it and knew about the horrors that followed, but did nothing to stop it. In fact, as a Senate report on covert action in Chile admitted, they actively encouraged it. Now, a 1975 report found that the U.S. government was not directly involved in the coup itself, though the source of these reports is also the U.S. government, so I guess take that as you will. But though they didn't pull the trigger, they handed Pinochet the gun. In March of 1990, following a referendum, Augusto Pinochet stepped down as leader peacefully. But while elections were allowed to occur, Pinochet remained as head of the armed forces for 9 more years. And many of the policies he implemented remain to this day, though opposition to them is growing. Ultimately, you can disagree with Allende's politics. This isn't about socialism versus capitalism. Not really. It's about history. Because this is not a one-off event. Argentina, Guatemala, Iran. There are countless examples of the United States helping to destroy the democracy and freedom that it professes. I hope we all already know about the horrors of the Soviet regime, but we also have to be able to look inwards. This piece was written based on public, free, easily available information, which leads me to ask the question, why don't we talk about this more? Why don't we talk about how our government supported the murder of a democratically elected leader? If we can't examine our history honestly, then we all have that blood on our hands. What do the stories we tell ourselves say about us? And what do the ones we don't? Thank you.
So we have three more. We have Bond up next, and then Senia, and then Ruby closing off.
Go Vaughn.
Yeah, I think the visual.
Yeah, excellent.
Bond, if you need any assistance with a chair.
No, but bear in mind that the pins may jingle throughout the piece.
That's okay. You deserve those. You earned those. That one works.
This is a fun chair. This one's dandy.
It's good chair.
Great torture chair. This was taken from maybe a 30-page span of 1984, condensing, I don't know how to word this. The actual editing of the piece took longer than the actual rehearsing. So, I don't know, whatever that's worth. Well, writes a lot.
Understatement.
Oh, I almost forgot Jafar Reddy.
You got a thumbs up.
I can't see the audience. Winston was lying on something that felt like a camp bed, except that it was higher off the ground and that he was fixed down in some way so that he could not move. How many times he had been beaten, how long the beatings had continued, he could not remember. The mere sight of a fist drawn back for a blow was enough to make him pour forth a confession of real and imaginary crimes. Their real weapon was the merciless questioning that went on and on, convicting him at every step of lies and self-contradiction. In the end, the nagging voices broken down more completely than the guards. He became simply a mouth that uttered whatever was demanded of him. Who controls the present controls the past. Who controls the past controls the future. 1984 by George Roeper. He confessed that for years he had been a member of an underground organization that included almost every human being he'd ever known. In a sense, it was all true. It was true that he had been the enemy of the party, and in the eyes of the party, there was no distinction between the thought and the deed. All through Winston's interrogation, although he'd rarely seen him, he had known that it was O'Brien who was directing everything. It was he who set the guards on to Winston and who prevented them from killing him. He was the tormentor, he was the protector, he was the inquisitor, he was the friend. I told you, Winston, that if we met again, it would be here. Under O'Brien's hand, there was a dial with a lever up top and figures running around the face. Without any warning except a slight movement of O'Brien's hand, a wave of pain flooded Winston's arm, as if his joints were being slowly torn apart. O'Brien drew back the lever on the dial and the wave of pain receded. That was 40. You can see that the numbers on this dial run up to 100. If you fall below your usual level of intelligence, you will cry out with pain. Winston, do you understand? I'm taking trouble with you, Winston, because you know perfectly well what is the matter with you. or you suffer from a defective memory. You are unable to recall real events, and you persuade yourself that you recall events which never happened. Fortunately, it is curable. Even now, I'm well aware you are clinging to a disease under the impression that it is a virtue. Is it your opinion, Winston, that the past has real existence? Again, the feeling of helplessness descended upon Winston. Not only did he not know whether yes or no was the answer that would save him from pain, he didn't know which answer he believed to be the true. I will put it more precisely. Does the past exist concretely in space? Is there somewhere or other a place where the past is still happening? No? Then where does the past exist, if at all? In records? In records. And in the mind, in human memories. We control all records and we control all memories. Then we control the past, do we not? But how can you stop people remembering things? It is involuntary, it is outside oneself. How can you control memory? You have not controlled mind. On the contrary, you have not controlled it. That is the fact that you have got to relearn this. You must humble yourself before you can become sane. You preferred to be a lunatic, Winston, when you delude yourself into thinking you see something you believe everyone else sees the same thing as you. But reality is not external. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Not in the individual mind, only in the mind of the party, collective and immortal. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth. It is impossible to see reality except by looking through the eyes of the party. Do you remember writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say 2 + 2 make 4? How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4? And if the party says that it is not 4 but 5, then how many? 4. The word ended in a gasp of pain. The needle of the dial had shot up to 55. O'Brien watched him, the 4 fingers still extended. He drew back the lever. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4! The needle of the dial went up to 60. How many fingers? How many fingers? How many fingers, Winston? 5! No, Winston, that is no use. You are lying. You still think there are 4. How many fingers? 4! And I don't know. Anything you like, only stop it. Stop the pain. He had the feeling that the pain was something that came from outside, that it was O'Brien who would save him from it. The pain flowed into Winston's body. Perhaps the needle was 80, 90. Winston would not immediately remember why the pain was happening. A forest of fingers seemed to be weaving in and out. He was trying to count them. He could not remember why. He knew only that it was impossible. And this was somehow due to the mysterious identity between 5 and 4. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? I don't know. You'll kill me if you do that again. 4, 5, 6. In all honesty, I don't know. Better. Winston, do you know where you are? I don't know. I can guess I'm in the ministry. And why do you believe we bring people here? Sorry, wrong question. Do you know how long you've been here? I don't know. Days, weeks, I think months. Actually, why do you imagine we bring people here? To make them confess? No, that is not the reason. Try again. To punish them. No, not to punish you, not to extract your confession, to cure you, to make you sane. The party is not interested in the overt act. The thought is all we care about. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. Do you understand what I mean by that? All the confessions uttered here are true. We make them true. Posterity will never hear of you, Winston. You will be lifted clean out from the stream of history. Nothing will remain of you, not a name in a register, not a memory in a living brain. You will never have existed. Winston, do you remember writing in your diary that it did not matter whether I was a friend or an enemy, since I was at least a person who understood you? You were right. Your mind appeals to me. It resembles my own mind, except that you happen to be insane. You are a difficult case, but don't give up hope. Everyone is cured. Sooner or later.
All right, Xenia, are you here? All right, Xenia's up next. All right.
Right. Jafar, ready? That telltale luminescent green vest. His bike, cruising leisurely a second before, skidded to a halt. Like a DJ's hand on this turntable, the hunter had made his mark. Mark the world and make it his. Though we had nothing to hide, we performed our innocence to him, placed it on full display like a buffet platter. Here, feast your eyes on this. Look, no, really. Though we strove that we came in peace, he was already at war. Because aren't we all, always? When you think about the history of violence in America, what is your immediate reaction? This poem opens describing the time that the author was racially profiled, a pattern that follows Black people for a lifetime. In this program, you will be faced with a reflection of this self-proclaimed land of the free. The Truth in One Nation by Amanda Gorman invites you to reimagine the way you view injustices in America and calls on you to join with our neighbors to incite change. He blinked, stunned, a doe before the rifle. Didn't he recognize who we were, who he was? A girl just trying to walk home and live to tell the tale. In that moment, we desperately want to snort, to scream, to survive. Such pain patrols with pattern. Practice, cool, coded, familiar and unfamiliar. Whoever said we never die in our dreams has obviously never been Black. Sometimes the whole dusk pulls us down. Sometimes in the thick of night, we say our name again and again and again until it loses all its meaning, until its syllables are just another dead thing. This is a rehearsal of sorts. We stand still as if to insist that we still exist. Hoodied by nightmare, we resurrect ourselves, union of unwilling martyrs. Death is no equalizer. Death equals nothing, makes a zero of a life. That is the machinery of this country. Our shoulders no longer recalling how to ripple after seeing bodies ripped apart. R.I.P. Ravaged in pandemic, rifled innocent people, raised irreplaceable persons. To ask a question is to put our hands up and ready ourselves for the end. The truth is, one nation under guns. This republic was bred shame. Country of guns and germs and stealing land and life. Oh, say, can you see the blood we stand on, shining below us like a blood-slicked star? What might have been if only we'd tried? What we might become if only we'd listened? Scars and stripes. Schools scared to death. School drills of death. The truth is, one education under desks, stooped low from bullets. Soon comes a sharp plunge when we must ask where our children shall live. And how. And if. Who else shall we let perish? Again, language matters. Children are taught America. Without her, democracy fails. The truth is, America without her democracy fails. We thought our country would burn. We thought our country would learn, America, how to sing our name. Singular, signed, singed. Ash is alcohol, meaning basic. All too true. Perhaps to burn is the most basic purification there is. Time said, you must transform to survive. We said, not over our dead body. What can we call a country that destroys itself just because it can? A nation that would char rather than change. Our only word for this? Home. The world still terrifies us. We're told to write what we know. We write what we're afraid of. And then is our fear made small by what we love. Every second, what we feel for our people and our planet almost brings us to our knees, a compassion that really destroys us with its massiveness. There is no love for or in this world that does not feel both bright and unbearable, uncarryable. We built this place, knowing it could lead, knowing it might not last, knowing it might lose. Our people, we take thee to have and to scold, to love and to change, in sickness and in health, till breath do us part. What we have not done delicately, at least let us do decently and deliberately. For there is still a promise here. We have promised here of all. Some days we believe in nothing but belief, but it is enough to carry us forward. We believe we can transform without war or weariness. We are stubborn, not simple. Like a general who sees that they may not win this battle. We are optimistic, not because we have hope, but because only by being optimistic can hope be ours to have. Grief depends on love. What we cherish most shall leave, but what we've changed can last, chartered and chosen. We imagine us and all will make of one another, our faces wet and shimmering, dazed by the flare of our new made selves. The truth is, one world, wonder-awed, raw with revelation. May such a prayer, a people, a peace, a promise be ours, be right and radiant and real.
Kids are still.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, all right. Add that still. Yes.
Oh, before I begin, I want to just give a quick content warning. This will have some language and it does involve pet death. Very DI.
Very DI.
Jafar, ready?
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's participated. A little boy in a cowboy suit, riding in a puddle with a stick, a dog approaching. The boy is a little timid, partly stupid, ashamed, afraid. Like us. Like you. Our little boy is wearing shorts, shoes, no socks, no cowboy boots. A terrible storm has just ended. Cloud overhead, a little rumbling. The boy writes his watery lines. Now picture that the stick he's writing with is a violin bow. Picture every living person as a member of a violin section. We hold the bow above the strings, ready to play. The violins are on fire. Picture a bird settling on a branch. Feel the world inhale. Picture the readiness, the stillness, the virtuosity. Among this, the child. Picture ash blowing across a newly blue sky. Now go fuck yourselves. Tom Paine asks very little of you. He asks for a moment of your time and a scrap of your imagination. I ask that you grant him that. In this intriguing stream of consciousness character study, he takes us through his personal stories, challenging us to question what or who we're living for. Tom Paine, based on nothing, by Will Eno. We should define some terms here, then maybe you get a little story. So from the New Century Dictionary of English, quote, fear. Colloquial. Archaic. A verb or noun. Depends. End quote. Anyway, now I guess we begin. Picture, I don't know, picture whatever you want, but our little performance, our little story on the themes of fear, boyhood, nature, hate, the heart of man, of woman. The boy's beloved dog story. Long story short, the boy loves dog loves boy, no question. The dog came closer, lowered her head to lap water from a nearby puddle, and was electrocuted. She was thrown some distance. Her eyes burned open, the pads on her paws blistered off. She was dead instantly. The boy lay down in a puddle behind his former dog, awake, breathing too much, trying to hold it all in. Some things are not really ours to decide. The shape of the face, say, or whether we're forgiven, or how tall we are, where to die, and when. When did your childhood end? How badly did you get hurt when you did, when you were this little, when you were this wee little hurtable thing, nothing but big eyes, a heart, a few hundred words? Isn't it wonderful how we never recover? Living in fear, suiting the hurts to our need. I'm serious. What a happy life. What a good game. Who can stand the most life and still smile, still grin into the coming night, saying more? Encore, you fates, just give me more of the bloody same. Trust me, there are people out there who don't love you, who spit on your little hopes, so as to leave you respectfully and truly alone with your larger hopes. Which are what? Care to share your larger hopes with us? No? Yeah, that's fine, I understand. Feel free to feel anything. blood, labor, holes in your knowledge, total oblivion. Me, hate, you, hate, words, love, hey, nothing. What possibilities we all have here, ways and means to live and die. Do you like magic? I do. I made serious inroads into a woman once doing card tricks with a deck that only had one card left in it. We had some laughs too, possibly three. The jargon of romance is unbearably precise, going steady, seeing each other. It takes a year of staying in to recognize the beauty of those terms, pain in those words. Except for all of our unfixable problems, everything was perfect. Epic romance in the aisles of all-night stores, unaloneness, and at last, you've changed, she said. The night we met, she felt lonely, that she could tell me anything. So back to the little boy then. The personality forms in the dark. The worldview arises at night without notice. The boys did as he grew. Changed night after fitful night spent fighting everything until a man stands before you. Big things going badly. The brain doing its job. The mind, another story. It's a monster. Oh, the memories up there. Insomnia, brain, how the world can sound. It all feels so useless, so unusable. Just fuck it all and burn it all down, you say, if you have a little headache. So maybe I have a little headache. Maybe this is all just some wrong pressure somewhere. We were talking about a little boy who used to have a dog. Then about a woman, remember? God, you could see her. Magic. Pick a card. There's only one, she says. Yeah. We hear the word love a lot. We throw it around meaning all sorts of things. Damn it. I don't like magic. I'm no good at it. And I don't like it. Fear. A word without definition. Nothing to be afraid of. Promise. Beautiful. Right. Enough. I have to go. You have to go. Maybe someone is waiting. Someone waiting. Important things will happen now. I promise. Be yourself. Then try to be brave. Try to be someone else. Someone better. Do. Isn't it great to be alive?
Let's hear it one more time for all. Okay, well, I'll hit the legs in a second, but I know I said it three times to most of you. As like emotionally intense as that last hour was, this is a group of humans pushing through a pandemic, pushing through their own personal struggles and bringing a gift to all of us in their performances. And throughout, for those of us who have the privilege of working with them throughout the school year, to us as their coaches and fellow community members. So now you are all part of that, and I cannot thank you enough for your support and for everything that came out of all of this and that manifested itself this evening. So a round of applause for yourselves as well. Apparently, I get to be honored like 40 or 50 times today. So there is a little video. I understand. I don't know what time it is. It's probably pretty low.
9:22.
So it's 9:22. If you need to go, it's completely understandable. We can put this up online. I think we're going to start showing it like pretty soon.
Pretty soon, yeah. So if you are leaving, I have favors. If you are a forensicator, and I'm going to hook up my laptop and we will play that for whoever wants to stay. We will also put it online. This was also streamed live on YouTube on our Roeper Forensics channel. So if you want to watch performances again, you're more than welcome to, because it'll be up on that channel. So thank you, everybody. You're amazing. Make sure you take a cupcake to go if there are any left. I don't know, or snacks or drinks, whatever.
Yeah, and we can just mill around and watch this, I guess.
Yeah.
That's good.